Everybody, how's it going? It's Pete Mosdean from So Many Shows, SoManyShows.com, and I'm here to discuss The Sinner, Episode 6 with you. So we start off with Mason, who's walking towards JD's house, and he has a gun in his hand, and we see a car go flying past. Now, I assume it's JD in the car. It could be anybody. Note to Mason, when you have a target in your sight, and you're going to the location, and you see, activity, and a car driving past, you don't continue your mission. You wrap it up. Mason continues his mission and walks to the house to find what we appear to be a dead JD. Now, we confirm that later that JD is in fact dead when we see Ambrose talking to Farmer, Captain Farmer, and he's saying how there's multiple suspects in this case, and we don't know who it is yet. Now, Captain Farmer ain't hearing none of it, dismisses it. Cora tells Ambrose, Detective Ambrose, that she would like to visit the place, the club, and see if she can remember anything. Ambrose has to pull a lot of strings to get this permission, but he does. So they go on this little field trip to the place, and nothing happens. Cora doesn't remember nothing. She's in this basement type deal where it's like a computer with a desk, real office type basement, but little, not too nice. So, that's the wrong place. They're about to go back. Cora wants to visit their childhood home. When they visit Cora's childhood home, they find out in a flashback, in a scene that was very controversial. Actually, there was, some incest involved. But that Cora can't say no to Phoebe no matter what, and Phoebe has this control over Cora, which I think this scene will play a lot more important role later on in the show. And it is what it is. So we move on to Cora, who now says, "Let's go back to the club." Ambrose is like, "Wait, we don't have time for this." But Cora says, "Let's go back." Ambrose takes her back. She wanders off into a place where we don't know, maybe a guest house. And when she gets in there, she stops and says, "I remember," and the credits roll. So that's how the cliffhanger leaves us this week, where I'm sure next week we'll get a lot more into it. Personally, I felt like there was not a lot of storyline progression, but great character build. And I'm really looking forward to episodes 7 and 8. Now, here's a segment that I like to call Pete's Peeps, where I'm just going to review my thoughts on a couple of the members of the show. So, first off, JD, manipulative slime bag, don't like him, can't stand it, it's whatever. They try to, rationalize his actions a little bit in this episode, but I don't see it coming. Phoebe, boo. I hate Phoebe. Phoebe's no good. Phoebe's trouble. Phoebe's probably the reason why Cora's in this predicament in some way, shape, or form, and I just haven't figured it out yet. Next, we move on to Ambrose with the Ambrose alert, which is, the thing I noticed the most is that this episode they're saying Harry, Harry, Harry. Now, I'm watching this episode like, who the heck is Harry? Ding. Harry Ambrose. Ambrose is Harry. Harry is Ambrose. It's Harry Ambrose. So, what I noticed is, and I'm going to take a moment to give credit to the Daily Review. That's DALEYREVIEW and .com. They do podcasts, and one thing they did point out to me in a podcast, which I picked up on in this episode, is that when somebody has a good title like detective, priest, lieutenant, any high-held title with a last name, during the show, if the character starts to get humanized, which is happening to Ambrose here, where he's becoming more relatable and he's becoming our guy, I guess Ambrose is our guy. So now that he's humanized, everybody's calling him Harry. And it's just something I picked up on. Good props to the Daily Review for, helping me point that out and, get better at my TV knowledge. But, so, now we're going to talk about Cora, who, she's a murderer. She murdered Frankie in the first episode. Now, I personally think, in my theory, that Frankie is actually the bad guy in the whole thing, and Cora killed the right guy. But you still killed somebody. So that's it. I'm Pete Mosdean, and that's my review. Please leave a comment with your theories or thoughts or anything, questions below, and I will get back to you immediately. Hit the likes for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Pete Mosdean, So Many Shows, SoManyShows.com.